Building downtown. Building downtown.
Hey, this is The Building Downtown. Don't forget to follow us at The Building DT on social media. Follow and subscribe to our show on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm your host, Jason Kelly. You can follow me at JKellyMMA. Joined as usual by Amy Barton, who you can follow at Ames Bell, and Kirill Kasatskiy, who you can follow at Apostle Raps. We're coming in with a guest today, switching it up from our usual shows of battle rap. This guy is a multifaceted human being. You may know him as a basketball player. You may know him as a boxing coach. You may know him as the one dude behind Randy Couture and so many pictures. And if you're one guy, you know him as that son of a bitch that put you on an airplane with no identification a few years back. And you will have the story before this man leaves today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about Ron Frazier. How's it going tonight, Ron?
I'm good. I don't know what you're talking about with the no identification. Wasn't me.
You can't plead the fifth now.
Hey, if you don't have video, you don't have proof.
Oh boy, 2020.
No shit. Possession, 9/10 of the law. Anyways, how you been, man? You're
Absolutely.
not coming from, as I mentioned to you yesterday, Amy and I covering combat sports, specifically MMA, for such a long time. Your face isn't popping up as much as it was. How's things? What's new? What's going on?
I'm just chilling, man. I'm a dance dad more than anything else these days. I got an 11-year-old daughter that keeps me quite busy. So, no, my face is not popping up, but I kind of like it that way. I was the black dude in everybody's corner for a lot of years. People didn't even know my name. I just had a do-rag on. I was the black dude in everybody's corner. It's like, oh, that guy.
No shit. And especially like the crossover. It's like, oh, that's Ron. He's the pro basketball player that's the boxing coach for the UFC champion. What the fuck's going on over here?
What don't you do it?
No shit.
Well, this is how that happened. I've been boxing and playing basketball since I was 8 years old. And at some point I had to make a choice which one I wanted to do. And I had a really crappy sparring session with someone who outweighed me by 60 pounds. And I was like, that shit hurt. It hurt in places I didn't know I had places. And then my agent called today. They want to offer you a contract in Germany to play basketball. I'm like, sold.
Yep.
I did not want brain damage. Most of my fighters cannot spell their name once they get past 35 years old.
And you're doing good, eh? Well, let's start there. Basketball overseas. That's becoming more of a thing recently.
Wait, can we start even before that?
Okay.
Did you say 8 years old?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move on to overseas basketball here in like 30 seconds. But especially, I actually don't even know how old you are, but like most kids are not prone to choosing between basketball or football or baseball or wrestling or whatever and boxing. Like, what prompted you at 8 years old to be into boxing at all?
One, Muhammad Ali was just a huge hero of mine, and my dad owned a restaurant in Los Angeles, and I had a chance to meet Muhammad Ali when I was about 5 years old. Actually, I met him on a couple occasions, and he just blew me away at just the guy he was and the boxer that he was, and I wanted to be like him. So I wanted to box. My mom, on the other hand, wanted none of that. And we had a basketball court in the backyard, so I just started shooting hoops. My older brothers played football and baseball, but I didn't want to be like them. I wanted to kind of pave my own way. So that's kind of how that all started at 8 years old and kind of grew from there.
What do you think about the state of boxing right now with all this circus that's going on with Conor going against Mayweather and now he's trying to come back with Pacquiao again? Since you're so deep into boxing, what's your opinion on all of that?
I just think it's a money grab for them. I understand it. I would do some glorified sparring too if I could make $100 million plus.
Facts.
Manny Pacquiao. Conor's not a threat to any of these guys. And Conor talks enough trash that the MMA fanboys buy it immediately. I have people on my page right now thinking that he was actually beating Mayweather. And I was like, no, this is what we do to people in the gym. We carry them. They're scrubs. Not that Conor is not a talented fighter, because he is. Obviously, he's a talented mixed martial artist, but he's not a boxer.
That's what I was going to say. I'm
Sorry,
sorry
Go
for
ahead.
stopping you there. Do you feel like it's disrespecting to the sport, saying that Conor can cross over and box, or saying that Pacquiao can cross over and go to UFC? I feel like that's sort of a disrespecting the discipline and disrespecting the sport, because I don't know, just the way I feel. I know as a professional, I was gonna ask what you think about that.
I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, it is because you go the audacity, dude. You've never boxed in your life, and you're going to take on a guy who, if you count his amateur career, had almost 200 boxing matches, and you think you're going to do well in that. Kind of a slap in the face. But again, if somebody says, hey, we will pay you $100 million to get your ass kicked, you are probably going to do it. Like,
It's probably
No, I'm
worth
gonna
back
get
in
my
the day,
ass
I
kicked.
used
I'm gonna
to.
get my ass kicked 20 times in the next month.
Absolutely. And I mean, back in the day, everybody used to go, man, I'd fight Mike Tyson for $5 million. I mean, of course, you would be dead and your family would enjoy that $5 million, but it's definitely something that would get your attention. So you understand the money. And for Mayweather or Pacquiao at this point in their career, it's minimal risk, for a whole lot of money. I mean, they're not fighting like, it's interesting. None of them are calling out the Earl Spencers or Canelo Alvarez's or Terrence Crawford's of the world.
Yep.
Pacquiao's not doing that, and neither is McGregor, because he knows that they're like, yeah, you come to my domain, it's going to hurt. He's also picking on guys that are way smaller than him. So it's like, yeah, I can survive this. This won't be too bad.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on with that Tyson comeback and Jones? What do you think is going on with that? I've been saying that I think Jones is in trouble. I think that Jones is in trouble because Mike seems to be looking like he's just on some sort of space roids.
He does look.
I mean, Mike, it looks great. And I am happy that Mike is not dead, because I knew Mike when he was heavyweight champion, and I thought Mike would be dead by now with the way he was leading his life.
That when you're done with this thought.
Say that again?
I'm going to expound upon that when you're done with this thought, because dead why? But finish your thought.
Okay. And, so the fact that he got his life together and that he looks in great shape. I mean, a few years ago, like about 5-6 years ago, Mike was weighing almost 300 pounds. He became a vegan. He's turned his life around. He started making money again. Started smoking a whole lot of weed, which makes him think, oh, I can go back and fight. And he can't. And, I know he looks great. His body is great. But I see things on the mitt as a professional athlete and as a guy who's a year younger than Mike. Mike is 54. I'm 53. I see some things with his balance that is not going to get better. So, yeah, he could fight a Roy Jones, but he can't fight anybody else. He could fight some old dudes, but if he tries to step in there with Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury or those kind of guys, it's going to be a long night. He wasn't good when he left in 2004. So I know a lot of people get hyped up and like, oh, man, I love Mike. I love Mike, too. But Mike is not a great fighter anymore. Those days are past. You're not coming back at 54 and be like, oh, I'm going to hurt some people. He might not even beat Roy. Mike had been a 3-round fighter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
so,
exactly
what happens.
I don't see him jumping in with anybody new. I was gonna see your opinion just on Jones. You know what I mean? That's
and I mean, but Roy is a fighter. Actually, the funny thing is, these guys were supposed to fight in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
When Roy beat John Ruiz for the title, he purposely stayed heavy to fight Mike Tyson. Mike was going through issues with Don King and says, I'm not giving this son of a bitch any more money, and actually threw Don King down some stairs. Rumor has it.
Shut the fuck up.
In California. And,
nice.
And basically said, I'm not fighting. And so then they proposed a bout for Evander Holyfield. Evander Holyfield, from my understanding, priced himself out of it, ended up fighting James Toney later that year and lost. But Roy Jones stayed at heavyweight. Mackie Shilstone, who was Roy Jones's nutritionist, Roy Jones, when he stepped into the ring with John Ruiz, was 197 pounds with 4% body fat. He stayed heavy throughout the summer thinking he was going to fight one of these bigger guys, and it didn't happen. And then HBO came back to him and said, hey, you got a date. You got to fight Antonio Tarver. You got to get back down to 175. And, Roy was also thinking from a historical point that, hey, I'm not undefeated. I can't go undefeated now. So I can do something that nobody's done in boxing in over 100 years, go from middleweight to heavyweight and come back down. And he destroyed his body in the process, and it took its toll. And unfortunately, after the first Tarver fight, because he didn't look like he wanted to look, he was just a shell of what he was supposed to be. If anybody knows, if you burn muscle, what happens to your ability to absorb punishment?
Well, when you're coming for that HBO money, then.
Yeah, I remember GSP talked about that all the time. He didn't want to bounce around in weight because he said that's what ruined Roy Jones.
Absolutely, it did.
Everybody wanted him to go up and fight Anderson and come back down. He said nope.
Yeah. Had Roy stayed at light heavyweight or Roy stayed at heavyweight, his career would have ended differently. He wouldn't have been knocked out like he was. I mean, you know, I seen Roy in the gym taking some heavy shots from some big dudes, and it wasn't phasing him. So again, the night he got knocked out by Tarver, a hush came over the Thomas and Mack for like 5 minutes. We were like, everybody was like, did this just happen? We just see this shit? Like, nobody would move. Nobody would say a word. Like, this didn't just happen. Like, all the celebrities, everybody was like, man, this didn't happen. He didn't just get knocked out. But no, it happened. Shit. It's the hurt business, and Tarver took advantage of it.
Yeah, and Tyson, the first opponent they came to for Tyson with this upcoming bout was Bob Sapp. Do you know that?
Oh, shut the fuck up. Really?
Bob Sapp was the first offer he got.
I don't know if Bob can hear us. It don't matter if he can. Bob is the biggest bitch in the world. Bob does not want to get hit.
No. Remember when he was throwing all those fights?
Mike would actually kill Bob. And I remember a few years. Yeah, maybe. I remember they were trying to get Mike Tyson to fight in K1, and Bob Sapp fought out here in Vegas, and he almost got knocked out with a jab. They gave him a little longer than a minute to recover in between rounds. He ended up winning the fight the next round, and Mike was sitting at ringside, and he called Mike Kid Dynamite, and I started laughing. Like, Mike ain't had that nickname since he was like 12. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I remember that.
So Mike came into the ring, and there was a lot of pushing and shoving, and they were going to make that match or something, and it never happened, which is probably good for Bob, because he could have died.
Yeah, he was throwing fights in Japan for a while towards the end of, I guess, his career. I don't know if he stayed active after that, but I think it was like 10 fights in a row or something, and it was like very, very, very obvious he threw them.
Oh yeah, he didn't like getting hit. He liked getting hit less than Ronda Rousey and Brock Lesnar likes getting hit.
Getting hit less than Brock. That's what I was about to say. Yes.
Brock.
Yeah, Brock is gonna punch. Brock is big dude, and I actually like Brock, but he was another one that did not like getting hit. Not that you should. I agree with part of that concept of not liking to get hit, but they made it so obvious that it was like, oh, you really you're about to get out of this cage.
Mm-hmm. Wait, side note before we completely move on from Mike Tyson, because you made the age comparison. I just got to put out there that you're a damn liar. You are not 52. Get the fuck out of here.
I am here.
I will not.
I am. I'm just immature. That's all that is. Yes, I'm 53. I have an 11-year-old, so I have to be immature.
Bro, you
genes. I would like to say.
11-year-old. Come on.
Say that again.
I said you can be 24 and have an 11-year-old. That doesn't mean anything.
Well, that's true. You could be 24. I don't know what y'all doing in Canada, but I try not to do those things to have an 11-year-old at 24 here. It's bad enough in the hood. But no, I have good genes. My mom and dad blessed me with good genes, but yeah, I'm 53.
I mean, okay. I'm just saying, like, whoa. Okay.
It's like this. I mean, not to be racist, but it's like this with Asian people and black people. It's either good for a very long time or it's bad early. like LeBron James looked like he was 40 in high school. Now that he's 40, he's starting to match what he looked like in high school.
No shit, his hairline started going when he was fucking 17.
Shit.
Yeah, that's
Like, yeah, I mean, I played with a dude. I played basketball with a dude he was 26, and I thought he was one of my coaches. Like, he had male pattern baldness at 26. And I was talking to him in the gym. I thought he was one of the coaches, and we started warming up, and the coaches came out, and they was like, "No, that's your teammate." And I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like, I thought he was like, well, you know, he was in the military, so I thought like he retired from the military and then came to play ball, like had some eligibility, and it was like, no, he's 26. We're like, damn, bro, what happened?
I literally cannot. Okay.
That's a debate that's coming up again, twice in 1 year because of The Last Dance, and again now because of LeBron. He's advancing in the finals, and LeBron Jordan. What are the thoughts on this? I'm a Jordan guy myself, but I don't have the argument with people because it's fucking senseless. It's absolutely pointless. It goes nowhere. But you're a guy who actually, you know, can provide some insight on this shit. You played pro ball. Another thing we're going to get to the other day when we were talking on Facebook, you said you played at Rucker. I'm very excited to hear about that experience. But the Jordan-LeBron comparison, what are your thoughts on that shit?
I personally have no all-time great because it's too hard to compare eras. Greatness can transcend era and play at any time, but everything is so different now. I mean, the rules are different. Travel's different. Technology and how your people are taking care of their body. Their mentalities are different. They're both great. They just do different things. Now, if you ask me who I'd want to start my team with, it would be MJ because he had that personality. He was that guy. He's like a serial killer. He's just going to keep coming at you.
I was going to say, I think he's got to win.
All his physical gifts, I think he lets players off the hook sometimes, like settling for jump shots when he should just go to the basket and dunk on the whole team. Yep. He just didn't do that. Like, LeBron could get 50 points and lose the game. If Jordan or Kobe got 50, they demoralized. You wanted to, like, leave the arena. You didn't like nah, I'm good. I'm out. You know, yeah. I just saw
Go ahead.
I just saw an interview with somebody talking about Kobe like a couple weeks ago. They got into the fourth quarter, and Kobe took them like a game. And he's like, what? I didn't have 2 steals. I didn't have dunks. I didn't D Kobe. And then he said he started doing some shit. He started looking at the coach going, that shit ain't on film, bro. I don't know what to do with that.
Wait, so I was about to ask, like, where does Kobe fit into that conversation? Because I feel like that's with LeBron. Like, I feel like Kobe's right up there for a lot of people in that same conversation.
You know, same conversation. One of the best that ever did it. I mean, the dude scored 81 points in a game. Mm-hmm. I scored 56 points in a game. I was tired for 6 weeks.
Wow.
I don't know how he did that. Like, it was like a video game. You're like, dude, are you kidding me? And that really wasn't even his best game that year. He had a game like 6 weeks earlier against the Dallas Mavericks, which was a playoff team that year. He scored 60. He outscored them 63-62 after 3 quarters. They asked him if he wanted to go back in the game. He's like, nah, I can do 70 or 80 on another day. His teammates are looking at him like, you're a damn fool. You don't get this but once. Little did they know, 6 weeks later, he was going to drop 81. But the 63 was more impressive because it was against a playoff team, and he outscored the entire team in 3 quarters. So that's just ridiculous. I mean, when you start doing things like that, you're on somebody's all-time great list. Then people just have who they like better. So if you're a Jordan guy, you like Jordan better. If you're a Kobe guy, you like Kobe better. If you're a LeBron guy, you like LeBron better. But all these dudes could play. It's, you know, a lot of people talk in social media about fighters or about athletes. You know, the very best dude at the end of the bench, if you took him to like a park, he's going to kick everybody's ass. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's a scrub to everybody. He may be a scrub NBA player, but there's only like 410 of them. Yeah. He's going to go to the parks and wear everybody out. It's that backup quarterback that everybody like, that dude can't play. Yeah, go try to catch a ball from him. He's going to knock out all your teeth when he throws a pass and you don't get your head around in time and the ball hits you in the face. You mean, oh, that shit's different. You know, it's sort of like fighters. You know, I can call somebody a scrub. You know, John Jones can call somebody a scrub. You know, if you ain't never had a fight before, don't be talking about dudes in Bellator or UFCs and scrub, because if they had to fight you, you're probably not going to fare that well.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
That's like Michael
John
Chandler.
John
Michael
Jones could be a scrub, but that's an entirely different conversation.
Well, I know John Jones is a bitch. He's not a scrub.
Oh.
You know what? We recorded with somebody earlier, and one of the things I said was, you can respect the talent and the athletic ability and the skill and still not like the person. And that's where I come from on that. Like, I think he is insanely talented, but I'm not a fan.
Oh, yeah, he's the best to ever do it, but he's turned off a lot of people, and he did that all himself. So he only have himself to blame. But, yeah, you definitely have to respect his skill. I mean, basically, the only loss he has in the fight, he beat himself. He was elbowing the dude and threw an illegal one, and he couldn't continue, and that's his only loss. Everybody else, he's beaten. So, and it's not like he's beaten some.
Do you think he won that fight
the
against
Reyes
Reyes?
fight?
Yeah.
I thought he lost, but you know what? It was close. The judges gave it to him, and then you know what kind of makes you favor him now is because Reyes had a horrible performance over the weekend.
Yep.
And John Jones is right. It's easy to do it once, but to be great, you got to do it continuously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, like you're saying about people
Michael Chandler.
Sorry, you're saying about people calling people scrubs. Michael Chandler coming over for Bellator now. A lot of people are excited to see what he's going to do, but I still see tons of people on social media that know no different. Like, oh, he's a fucking joke. He's a Bellator champion. He's going to get smashed in the UFC. I'm like, I wouldn't fucking place bets on that. Michael Chandler is very, very, very talented, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do.
I know that because he trained at Extreme Couture for a couple of years. So I know right. Mike when he had his first Bellator fight, when he was headed into it, and he kind of shocked everybody when he won. So yeah, Mike is for real. He's a good, humble kid, works hard, just good people, and yeah, Mike can fight. If people sleep on him and think he can't fight, he's gonna upset. He's gonna surprise some people.
It's funny. When I was covering MMA, I was just kind of writing editorials, I guess it'd be, for probably the first 10 months or so. And then the first interview I did was Sean Tompkins. The second one was Stephen Quattros. And then I went to MMA Diehards and I was doing like news and stuff. And somebody was supposed to interview Michael Chandler. And then they backed out with like a half hour before. So I have very little experience. So the guy who ran MMA Diehards, Hector Castro, he asked me if I wanted to try interviewing this Michael Chandler guy. And I was like, sure, no problem. And he's like, you sure you're ready? I was like, oh, yeah, no problem. I'd never heard of Michael Chandler before, ever. Okay, so I was just like, I got to wing this. And I mean, this is early in his career. And I called him, and it's funny, listening back to the recording, I think he was as nervous as I was, because it was probably one of the very first interviews he did. So we're both talking to each other like, what do I do? What do I say? And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? You know, he's not exactly Vitor Belfort. Actually, you know what? The interview I did after that was Phil Baroni. Okay, so it was my fourth interview. And my dumb ass, because I didn't know what else to ask him, asked Phil. He was going to fight Amir Sadal. I was like, is this a fight you think you could win? And Phil was like, fuck you. What do you mean?
Oh, yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that one. My two favorite Phil Baroni stories.
Nice.
All right. One, when we first started all training together, he was kind of one of the OGs that trained with us. It was Randy, Forrest, Jay Haran, Mike Powell, Green Maynard, Alex Schonauer, and Baroni would come in with Jay Haran. And I didn't know Phil at the time like everybody else did, and he had never given me any problems. We were at the old Zions Training Center. It was before Extreme Couture was open. We were kind of Ronins and went from gym to gym wherever we could train. Mm-hmm. And it was this guy named Charles. I can't remember his last name, but he was a part-time fighter, part-time Chippendale dancer.
Wow, that's a resume.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so it's Little Glove Day, and we start you off in bad positions, and you work yourself out. No hard strikes, just you're grappling. Well, I think he caught Phil in something Phil wasn't expecting. And, I think it was a heel hook or something. He didn't twerk it or anything like that. I got it, you acknowledge it, you let it go. Well, Phil didn't quite let it go. He started throwing bombs at this dude, but he was shrimping out the way. And Phil was like, you want to go hard, motherfucker? And he's trying to throw bombs at him, but he's missing, and he's getting madder because he's missing. And then Forrest was like, Coach, He's like, Coach, you probably should stop that. And I was like, oh, shit, I am the coach. But I was looking as a fan for a moment. It was funny. That was funny. And then I ended the round, and I switched everybody around. And Phil was like, me and him are going in. I was like, nah, you're going with Frank Trigg. You're not going with that kid again. No. And then Johnny Hendricks. Johnny Hendricks came to Extreme Couture with not the greatest reputation in the world from his college wrestling days. I didn't know Johnny from a hole in the ground. I just knew he was a national championship wrestler, and some of my guys were not too fond of him. The first day he comes in, it's Little Glove Day. Well, he's straight from wrestling. Like, he has never been in an MMA gym, done anything in his life. So he's paired up with Tyson Griffin, and Tyson is not hitting him hard, but he's hitting him fast. Johnny's just throwing bombs because he has no idea what's going on, right? So we end that session, and so he did not, like, endear himself to the room. They were like, this dude's a dick. And I'm like, all right, he's a dick. I don't know him yet.
You got to know your audience, bro.
So the next time, so he was part of Team Takedown. They go home for about a couple of weeks, and they come back out. Well, it's supposed to be Little Glove Day again. You know, we see Johnny walking through the door, and I forgot who suggested it, but another fighter said, hey, Coach, can we do big gloves today? And I'm like, shit, I don't care. Let's do big gloves. So it's like, yeah, and match Phil Baroni up with Johnny Hendricks. So I'm like, all right, green light time. So I do, and Phil knocks him out. Like, his mouthpiece went one way, Johnny goes the other way. He is out. And you know, everybody gets a good chuckle out of it. Johnny, you know, they help him back to the side. He's pretty much done for the day. Johnny later tells me he really didn't wake up till he got into his hotel. But what I found out about Johnny was the next day he came back and said, Coach, I want to spar that dude again. And I'm like, oh, hold on, partner. Let me teach you how to box before you do that. And I started Johnny Hendricks from there. And turned out the other guys really didn't know Johnny that well. Johnny was an all right guy. You know, he just, you know, he was good. And he let you know he was good. And I have no problem with that. People seem to have problems with that. But, hey, if you don't want people to talk or show you that they're good, beat them.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Good on him for coming back around like that.
Absolutely. He came back, and then he got into the WEC, and very rarely do I curse at fighters. Like, I'm very even. Like, I'm talking to you guys now. It's how I talk to my fighters. Johnny I think it was his second WEC fight. He was fighting some dude that we didn't know, but he's taking Johnny down like he's a national championship wrestler. And Johnny's like going through the motions. Me and Mark Lehman worked together, and Mark cursed Johnny out every day, so it wasn't a big deal. But when I pulled him close to me, it's like, dude, this ain't no fucking practice. This dude is fucking killing you. And he goes out and knocks the dude out the next round. And he's like, Coach, you hurt my feelings because you never curse at me. I'm like, well, don't act like it's practice.
Yeah. Practice, like AI said.
Yeah.
Wait. Let's back up a second here. This question is mostly for me, but also we have a lot of listeners that are MMA fans. But you mentioned Frank Trigg.
Yes.
He's a good friend of mine. In fact,
he's fat.
I'm sorry?
And he's fat. Go ahead.
Yes, you're on the right track. So I texted him a few hours ago, and I was like, give me a funny Ron story. Like, I've talked to him years ago. We're friends on Facebook. Like, I got lots of shit to say, but, like, tell me something about Ron. And he was like, I haven't talked to him that closely in a few years. I mean, he's dope. And I was like, dude, you fail so hard at this. So now I'm going to need you to tell me some kind of something about Trigg.
All right. So, all right. So, Frank, I got a couple Frank stories. One, he was gonna fight Mayhem Miller. Like, all right. Yeah. So we're at the Ultimate Fight Gym. It is before Extreme opened up, and we would use that gym when Randy was in Dana White's good graces. I had a key to the gym, and when they weren't filming anything, we would go in there and train. So Frank is coming off a retirement where after he fought St. Pierre, he retired. He wasn't doing it anymore. And, we hadn't seen him in a while.
After when he fought in like Israel.
This was before. So he was going to fight no more. He was going to be a Hollywood guy and do some other thing. So he comes back in the room and says, yeah, coach, I'm coming out of retirement. And I was like, what weight? He's like, 185. So I start splitting people up, going with different groups. And I'm like, yo, you're going with the heavyweights. So like, but I'm fighting at 185. I like, how much wine you been drinking? He's like, I'm going to go with the heavyweights. Because he was about 225 when he came into that room.
I mean, look, he always has like big aspirations, though. You can give him that.
Yeah, he got a big ass, all right.
I can't.
I haven't seen him in a long time. I know he's a referee now, and I saw him probably last year, and I was like, damn, bro. You need to lay off those donuts, homie. I mean, I knew it was going to be bad in retirement, but, But Frank was one of those dudes, he would always tell me he was running and that he was doing certain things to get in shape, but he would get tired at the same point. We did mitts every time. So, like, okay. He's like, yeah, coach, I went and ran 5 miles today. Oh, coach, I biked 8 miles. I'm like, why your ass tired after 3 minutes like you were last week, though?
So wait. I would love to talk shit about Trig all night long, personally. But, you mentioned Extreme Couture. Everybody, talks about Randy. I don't know if anybody listening to the show would have expected Trig to come up. But, like, going down that path, who else, training-wise, have you worked with that we don't know about? I mean, whether it's boxing or MMA, like, who's on the list that's not made Twitter or made Wiki or whatever?
Well, one of my favorite fighters ever is Vanderlei Silva. Now,
Same.
Before Vanderlei opened up his gym, he was training at Extreme Couture, and I am sure he came in and asked Randy, could he work with the boxing coach? And I'm sure Randy called me by my name and said, Ron would love to work with you. I am absolutely positive, but he never called me Ron. He called me teacher. So he's getting ready to fight. He didn't call me Ron. He called me teacher. He said, teacher, you teach me how to box? I'm like, sure. So I'm like, you're the axe murderer. Who wouldn't want to teach you how to box, right? So we're going through it. He's getting ready to fight Chuck Liddell. So I worked with him on his boxing that entire camp. All right. He loses a close fight, tough fight in that one. Comes back, he's like getting ready to fight Keith Jardine. So we're working, and this is like probably a month before the fight. He's like, teacher, you corner me. I'm like, yeah, Vanderlei, I would love to corner you. I'd love to be in your corner. So I start laughing, and I forgot who it was. What's so funny? It might have been Sean. And he's like, what's so funny? I was like, he has no fucking idea what my name is. He's been calling me teacher for 8 months. I called the UFC and it's like, I'm going to corner Vanderlei. And they're like, all right, coach, but why are you calling us? Like, he has no fucking clue what my name is. He's been calling me teacher for 8 months. I don't think he knows my name is Ron. So that's one of my favorites.
But is he or is he not like the nicest human on earth?
As long as you are not sparring with him, he is the nicest guy ever. Like, he would like introduce himself to people around the gym. Like nobody knew. He was like, dude, your nickname's the Axe Murderer. You have tattoos on your head. People know who you are, but he would act like nobody knew who he was. And you're right. He is one of the nicest guys.
So I'm going, it's kind of the same question, but I keep going back to the basketball side of things. I spent years covering MMA, got sick of it. I'm fascinated with your basketball life. Who are some of the guys you balled with? I mean, stars, whatever, over the years that, obviously people don't know about. Not necessarily in Germany, but wherever.
My biggest nemesis on the AAU circuit and just going around was one Reggie Miller.
Oh,
the one that Michael Jordan wanted to bitch slap. I knew Reggie. We grew up playing on different AAU teams in California. And Reggie was one of those dudes that talked a lot of trash, and he would like try to goat you and like keep moving further and further back to shoot your jump shot because he could shoot from the scorer's table where you check in at and make it. And then you'd be like, yeah, nah, bro, I can't do that. But Reggie's one. There's been so many. Wow. Vernon Maxwell, Mad Max, who went up into, he was the first dude to ever go into the stands when he played for the Houston Rockets. They were playing the Portland Trailblazers and tried to punch a fan. But he was one of those dudes, Derek Coleman. Now, everybody knows that covers the NBA that Charles Oakley is tough.
Yeah.
But Derek Coleman was one of the dudes that nobody talks about. But Derek was one of those dudes that if you did something wrong, he wouldn't get you in the game. He would meet you by the bus and put some speed knots on your head. Nobody messed with Derek Coleman.
Are there any names out there that you dunked on, or you just got a better piece of every time you played, or one night at the gym, on the court, whatever, the blacktop, whatever? Are there any names out there that you shined on?
There was this, what's his name? Hell, he played at Arkansas. He's the 7-foot center. I dunked on him in the summer league game.
Oh.
He played in the NBA. I can't think of this kid's name. It was so funny though. I didn't even talk trash because I'm 6'2", he's 7 foot, and it was a great dunk. I just looked like, we all know. Yeah, like yes. I mean, he could have put me in his pocket, but he didn't. He got dunked on. But the funniest dunk I ever had was some dude I didn't know. I dunk on him, and many years later, I run into this dude in the mall. And he's like, hey, I know you. And I'm looking at this dude like, I don't know you. Like, who is this?
No, you don't know
I'm
me.
looking at my friend. Yeah, basically. I'm like, I do not know this dude. I'm looking at my friends like, y'all know this dude? And then he came up like, yeah, you dunked on me. And I was like, dude, I would have never fucking mentioned that. Like, how are you going to somebody like, I know you? No, you were a victim, bruh.
Dude,
you were, I mean, dude, let me look at the top of your head. Oh, I mean, do you know what my balls smell like? Because that's what it was when I dunked on you, bro. Like,
I can't.
Like, dude, I would never, ever, some dude dunk on me. If I see you in the mall, I might punch you in the throat, but I ain't going to be like, yo, you remember me? You made me a victim. No.
Put me on a poster.
No.
To be fair, do you not think there are people who were like fighting in Cage Warriors that were like, I fought Connor? I mean, same thing.
Yeah, but that's just, no, if you knock me out, I am not ever talking to you again.
We're talking ever again.
Yeah, it's like I will ignore you. I will not acknowledge that fight even happened. But another guy that I trained that people may not know, Martin the Hitman Compton.
Oh, you know what? He is another one of the nicest guys to ever live, actually.
The one of the best guys ever. This is how Martin got into the UFC. Martin knows Mike Pyle. Mike Pyle trained in Denmark for a couple of years. Mike comes back stateside. I start training Mike. We're all working together. Mike calls me one day. He's like, Coach, can my buddy from Denmark come train with us? I'm like, shit, if he's a friend of yours, yeah, he can come train. So Martin comes out for the summer, how I spend my summer vacation. Martin's a very nice guy, very smart guy, engineering student at the time. I think he was getting ready to fight in Cage Rage in England. He was preparing for that. And he was like, man, Coach, I would just love to fight in America just once to say I did it. Like, he had no aspirations of being in the UFC or anything like that. He just wanted to fight in America. Aww. And at that time, like every other week, I would get a call from a small show, but nothing. I was absolutely getting nothing. And then he goes to California to visit some other friends for like 10 days, comes back to Vegas to train. The now defunct WFA calls. They want Mike Pyle. Well, Mike was under contract with the IFL, and he also no longer fought at 185. He moved down to 170. And we were like, yeah, we don't really have nothing for you. And it's like, do you have any other strikers in the gym? And, Baroni, agent at the time, started representing Martin, said, hey, yeah, we got this Danish kid. And it's like, he's a striker? And I'm like, yeah. Like, and we're like, why? Well, he was fighting this dude, Edward Aguilera, a Hispanic dude from L.A. We're fighting in the Forum in Inglewood. They were trying to get this dude over. All of his wins were KO, TKO. All of his losses were submissions, so they didn't want him fighting a grappler. So they were like, all right, cool. We'll fly you guys out. We take the fight on 2 days' notice. We fly out on a Thursday. We have to wake up at 4 a.m. Friday morning to get all of his medicals done. We get to the weigh-in. His HIV test wasn't back yet, but they had said it was on its way. So they were like, well, he can't weigh in right now. They were trying to make me keep him at 185 for an entire day. I'm like, no, that ain't happening. We can weigh in the morning at another weigh-in, and he can be 190. And so we agreed to that. That happens. Martin goes in and smashes the dude, breaks his nose, knocks him out, wins the fight. We knew how that was going to go because they had his show money, but they didn't have his win bonus. It took us 3 weeks to get his win bonus. In the meantime, they were having an Ultimate Fight Night at Red Rock Station. The UFC calls and says, hey, that guy Martin Kampmann, we had a guy drop out. Can he fight Crafton Wallace? And we were like, yo, when are you supposed to be going home? It was the day he was supposed to leave back going to Denmark. Like, bro, I guess you're not going. So he comes in and he chokes out Crafton Wallace, and they offer him a contract. He goes home. He fights. They bring him out to fight Talis Lattis, where he was supposed to be an underdog. He beats Talis, and he's like, Coach, he's like, you think I should move here? And I'm like, yeah, you should move here.
Yeah,
and
yesterday.
The rest, they say, is history. Yeah, and then my favorite fight was the Drew McFedry's fight, because Drew, you know when the boxing coach is yelling for you to take him down, it's not going very well striking. He's like bouncing his head all over the place like a basketball. I'm like, take him down. Take him down. He takes him down and chokes him unconscious. And he's like, Coach, did he like hit me hard? And they're like, dude, he dropped you. You don't remember that? You're like, no. I like, well, good thing you choked him.
So wait, I mean, look, I will say that I think Martin, when he had his shine at the moment he had it, at least in the UFC, was grossly underrated. And I don't know what in the world he's up to now. Hopefully something good. But to backtrack,
he's training fighters. He's training fighters. He's back in Denmark. He's training fighters over there. I seen him not too long ago, before COVID happened and people could travel. He came in, just a wonderful guy, wonderful family man. He has 3 kids. Just a great dude, and I wish him nothing but success all the time.
Oh, same. Love Martin. I mean, but the secondary question is, did you ever work with any Glory people?
No.
None. I'm actually kind of shocked.
Me too.
Because I feel like a lot of them that did come over to train in the States were like laser focused on Vegas.
Yeah, they were, but we had One Kicks and Dewey Cooper and some of those other guys. And so, they kind of went that route. So I did not work with any of those guys. But
who would you have wanted to work with if you had the opportunity? Because I feel like everybody's going to be like Alistair, but...
Well, you know what? Alistair did come to our gym. Oh, funny, Alistair and his brother's store. So our practices are at the time we're at 4:30. So I would drive up, I'd get there 20 minutes before practice starts, just kind of get everything situated, wait for Sean to get there. Usually came in 5 minutes after I did, and we would talk and kind of, discuss what we had discussed the night before about what we wanted to do for practice. So as I'm pulling up, I see these 2 big dudes leaving the gym. And I'm like, all right, what's that about? Well, it's Alistair and his brother. They're leaving the gym. So I go in, and the front desk girl was like, are those 2 fighters? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that's Alistair and his brother. His brother happens to own a win over Randy. She's like, oh, I didn't know. I told them they couldn't train.
Do you feel like Valentin was underrated in his career?
No, Valentin, I don't think really wanted it. like Alistair did. I mean, I think he was a talented guy, but I don't think he had that desire to go out there and just put it on the line like Alistair did. But he was a gigantic dude. I'm like, holy shit. But I wish the version of Randy that I had and Sean had and some of the others would have fought Valentin again, because I don't think he would have beat Randy again. I mean, Randy lost some fights earlier in his career,
Sure.
you know, just because he was a wrestler playing in the jiu-jitsu guy's hand. But once he evolved his game, I think he would have smashed a lot of those dudes. Randy's like a freaking, they won his first pro fight. He was 33 years old.
Yep.
You know, and he fought till he was 47. And
Right.
it was funny because people in, you know, every countdown show, I would make fun of his age, and people were like, he doesn't get mad at you? I'm like, no,
I mean, I
know
don't know if
like
you should be the one talking about age, but okay.
But that's what it was. I was like, people didn't understand. I know he looked like he was old enough to be my father, but we're only 3 years apart. He's gonna so punch me for that. But he punched me a lot, so you know I'm getting him back right now. He like, yeah, no, he missed the mitts a lot, and then he'd act like he didn't do it on purpose. He was getting ready to fight Machida, and we're in the training room, and we're looking at the Everlast book, who used to sponsor Randy, and there's a picture of me and him, and he's like, Coach, what's that funny look on your face? They're like, that's fear. They're like, what the hell are you scared of? I'm like, boss, you know, the day before the fight, when you don't care that I'm your coach and you just want to punch things, but it's not quite the fight yet, and we do mitts, and we start to do ground and pound mitts, and you start throwing elbows that I did not ask for yet. I saw one coming and didn't know if the mitt was going to get up in time, and I was thinking, shit, I'm going to bleed all over the place. And that's when they took that photo.
Have you ever got fucked up in training? Has someone ever, like, you know, really, like, cut you open bad or, you know, knocked you out?
No, nobody ever cut me. Nobody ever cut me. They didn't knock me out. I mean, they didn't knock me out, but I've been hit hard. Like, damn you dicks. Mike Pyle, actually, we were in Affliction. So we're warming up in the training room, and I asked for a knee followed by a certain punch combination. And he does that, and then he kicks me in the head. And I'm like, did I ask for a kick? And he's like looked at me like I was crazy. Like, dude, I did not ask for a fucking kick. So we go through a combination, and then he tried to kick me in the body. I block it. I'm like, you're warm. I hope you kick that dude just like you kicked me. I'm not asking for kicks right now. And Greg Jackson was like, you don't want like kicks, do you, coach? I'm like, did I ask for a kick, Greg? No, you didn't. Nobody had me ask for a kick. Like, kick this dumbass. No, I love Mike. Mike is, if it wasn't for Mike, I wouldn't have had a career in MMA.
Really?
So, yeah, he was the very first dude I trained. I was doing boxing with Skipper Kelp, who, you know, I owe him a lot as well. But we were at a gym called JSEC, is now called Fight Capital. Mm-hmm. And Mike Pyle came in. He was he had his cousin. His cousin name is Jimbo. They're from the South. That is not a joke. They are from Tennessee. His cousin Jimbo was trying to hold mitts for him. It was not going well. I would try to give pointers so Mike could do, you know, get some work, and Jimbo didn't get hurt. Wasn't going very well. So Mike was like, hey, coach, can you think you can hold mitts for me? And I like, yeah, you know, how about you come in at this time? We'll get like 6 or 7 rounds. We'll call it a day. We're doing that. 2 weeks in, he comes in with this sad look on his face. And I'm like, yo, what you need? I'm like, what's up? He's like, how much are your private lessons? And I was like, oh, like $120 an hour. He's like, oh, I can't afford that. Like, I know. What do you want? He's like, coach, I got to fight in 7 weeks, and I have no one to train me. He's like, can you hold mitts for me like 3 times a week for like 30 minutes? And I'm like, all right, like, we won't worry about money. We're like, we won't worry about money right now. Like, that turned into me training him 6 days a week, 2 hours a day. He goes up in Oregon. Oh, before that, he calls me. I was at a boxing gym at UNLV. He calls me and says, hey, can you open up the other gym? And I was like, yeah, no. He's like, what do you mean no? I like, dude, I've been in this gym all day. I haven't eaten. No. He's like, what do you mean no? I'm like, what? You were in Denmark so long you don't speak English anymore? No. He says, Randy Couture wants to work out. And it's like, I'll be there in 20 minutes. So he fought his first fight with me. He fought on a sport fight card up in Oregon. And we end up staying at Randy's house. And I said, I told Randy, if there's anything I can do for your hospitality, you let me know. Mike wins the fight. Randy says, I like the way you work. He calls me that Monday, said, I don't know if you know this. I am moving to Vegas. I need a boxing coach. So that's kind of how it all started. So if it wasn't for Mike Powell, there wouldn't have been no Randy, no Vandalay, no Forrest, no Vitor Belfort, or any of the other guys that came.
Okay, so wait. Here's a lighthearted question followed up by a serious question.
Okay.
Hear me out here.
Okay.
Overeem. Does he or does he not look like the human iteration of a? Wait, let me back up. I have been a lifetime Overeem fan, long before he was in the UFC. Okay, but like, does he or does he not look like the human version of a Sharpay?
He does. He does look like a human version of a Sharpay. I will give you that. And since I'll probably never see him again, he can't punch me. So yes, I will give you that.
All right. On a more serious note, you mentioned kickboxing like 30 years ago on this call. I'm curious how you feel about Pat Barry's career and how it played out and how the kickboxing was how it came upon, but like maybe didn't do him so well in the UFC.
It did. Pat and I did the Ultimate Fighter season 16 together. We were on opposite sides. I was on Team Nelson. He was with the Colorado crew. And we actually had, I thought, a great moment on the show that never made it into a show with Mr. Let Me Bang, Julian Lane. He had lost his fight. And at the time, and what people don't know are the backstories on these kids. A lot of the time, he had 2 kids that were 2 years old and under. He had just had a baby not too long before coming on the show. He loses a fight and he feels his life like is over. Like, he's like, what am I going to do now? I'm talking to him like, it's going to be all right. You'll weather this. You'll get better. I said, talk to Pat. Pat was almost homeless and he wins fight of the night and it changed the trajectory of his life and his career. Pat talks to him, and that part never makes the show. But the Let Me Bang part, which he's now known for, does make the show. And, it's things like that. But Pat, going back to Pat's fighting, Pat had a good run for a moment, but Pat, like a lot of fighters, like when you look at the Chet Congo fight, he's winning that fight. And all he has to do is take his time. He gets in a hurry, and, he stands right in front of a guy who's drowsy, who's 6'4", 250 pounds, and he's like, hey, I just need to throw a shot straight up the middle because I'm about to go to sleep. And he did, and Pat was standing there, and it knocks him out, and nothing was ever the same after that for Pat. And he was also a smallish heavyweight. I mean, he was short.
No, he was a smaller heavyweight, but where the question started was, do you feel like he did himself a disservice with not sticking as heavily with his kickboxing roots at the end as he did at the beginning?
I probably, but you never know with these guys what starts going through their mind, what confidence, what's playing on them, and what they should do a little differently. Athletes have some very mercurial people at times, and you just don't quite get like why they go away from what made them really good in the first place. And I've had more than one, and one pops in my head right now. I'm just not going to mention who that is. That went away from what he did just because I love him, and I'm not going to mention it.
This is like story time with Ron Frazier. I'm enjoying it. We're all over the place. I need to hear about Rucker Park. What was that experience like?
I didn't hear you. What was that?
The experience at Rucker Park. Are you driving with your window down right now or something?
Oh, okay. The experience at Rucker Park. Okay, this is like this. If you know anything about boxing, when you go to Philadelphia, you go to LA, if you come to Vegas, or any top flight boxing place, it's very territorial. They like pit bulls. They are going at you. It becomes a fight. Well, Rutgers is like that too. It's the Mecca. It's hallowed ground. And when you're not from New York, everybody's coming at you with their best. They're going to hack you. They're going to foul you. They're going to test your resolve. They want to see if you can play. They want to see if you can fight. And, you know, I just have to go up there and realize that I wasn't in L.A., that if a fight broke out, it was going to be how many ever was at that park against me. So I had to be very careful not to come too far out of my element, but let them know that I wasn't a punk, that I wasn't going to beat Punk, and that I was going to come back at him. So the experience was fun. That you go out there, you get the ball, hallowed grounds. Everybody wants to play at Rutgers. It was just a fun experience. And, you know, I got the nickname Hollywood, but it was probably because I had a Hollywood Park T-shirt on.
Holy shit, that's crazy though, man. Because that Earl the Goat, Man the Goat movie, I've watched so many times, and I think the story behind it, all the guys that went there, the legend of Rucker Park's nuts.
Oh yeah, I mean, there were some legends. Joe the Destroyer Hammond. I mean, you hear about some of these guys that played in the '60s and early '70s that would, you know, drop like 50 points and a half on an NBA player, and then never go to the league because they made more selling drugs than the NBA could pay them at the time.
No shit. That is fucking crazy.
So it was crazy. Yeah, and we have some of those stories. Like there was a dude named Raymond Lewis out of L.A., and I swear he's the best basketball player I've ever seen. He wasn't like a high flyer, but I swear I watched that dude for 3 weeks, and he might have missed 2 jump shots.
Holy shit.
It was just crazy. I mean, people thought like Reggie Miller or some of these other guys out of L.A. could shoot. Nah, it was nothing like, watching Ray Lewis. And, we have the Drew League and what we call, it's supposed to be called the Run, Shoot, and Dunk League. I call it the Run, Shoot, and Be Drunk League because there was a lot of dudes that would be drunk killing people. Like, how is this dude, like, he ain't even sober and he just dropped 40. How is that possible?
No shit.
You be like a guy, John Staggers played at the legendary Crenshaw High. Not that he got drunk, but he was just one of those guys that he would come when he came to the game. You knew he was about to put on a show, and he would drop a cool 50 on guys who went to the NBA. Crenshaw High School was just a place that it seemed like everybody they just turned out went to a Division I school.
I mean, you can't argue with why people would do that.
No, you can't argue.
I'm not saying that's like the right option. I'm just saying you can't be surprised by it.
No, the thing is this, basketball and boxing are poverty sports. And I remember being interviewed when I first got into MMA as a coach, because there wasn't a whole lot of black coaches and there wasn't a lot of black American fighters. There's obviously more now. And they were like, why? And I said, one of the reasons why is that it's expensive to learn MMA. I mean, if you don't, a lot of people that come from a wrestling background, but if you started just MMA for MMA's sake, to go to an MMA gym, that's going to cost you anywhere from $85 to like $200 a month. And people just don't have that kind of money.
Oh yeah. It's $120 around here. $120 around town.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so, where basketball and boxing for a lot of these guys didn't cost a whole lot. So they're poverty sports, and that's why you get those characters that if this didn't work out, they would be in your living room, but not on TV, more like stealing it. So, it's a crazy game out there. But sports can bring you through a lot of stuff, for sure.
So, all right. So, look, I'm going to hit you with a couple of questions, right? And we're going to do this up to you because we don't want to take up your time. So, we're going to wrap soon, unless you want to continue talking about all these things. But I have a plethora of random questions, and I'm going to ask them all and ask you to answer the one that interests you the most, unless you want to talk about more than one of them.
You shoot. You question away, and we'll go from there.
All right. So there's 4 of them. So here we go.
Okay.
you mentioned Alex. You mentioned our and when you met him, what was the circumstance? You're actually not surprised. That's what are your full thoughts on his behavior? 3 is you happen to be after. And 4th, and maybe most importantly, is can we not with Kanye really please?
Kanye probably was really pleased with what was going on in that debate last night. I mean,
please
what do Canadians think of Americans right now? Because I know what I think of America right now.
I say go Trump.
I say it's
because you're
dumpster
an idiot.
fire that I view from afar.
You like Trump? Really?
I know Kirill does. So he says.
Well,
I don't think he knows anything about him, but he likes to say
if we're
it.
talking about Hillary Trump and Biden
wait.
Trump, then yeah.
Kirill doesn't like Trump. Kirill likes the
Not Hillary.
dumpster that comes up in conversation when people mention Trump.
Got you. Well, I mean, but listen to his name. Ain't nobody can pronounce this shit, so of course he likes Trump.
No, listen. This was the debate about Trump. I have. It's not that I like Trump. I just really didn't like Hillary. I thought Hillary would mean World War III, honestly. So it wasn't. Like,
you know what? I mean, unfortunately, the last 2 elections is the lesser of 2 evils. I didn't like Hillary or Trump. I didn't vote for either one of them.
That's what I'm saying.
Johnson.
And in this one, I think Biden is. As a minimum dimensional. You know what I mean? He doesn't. I don't know. The shit he says is just. This again. If this was a choice for me, you know what I mean. I'd still go with Trump in this one.
Well, I mean, you say the stuff he says, but
Jesus Christ.
Well,
yeah,
you go with
I mean,
Biden
you said. No, well, but you wait. You said the stuff he says, but one dude says we should drink bleach.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't. Yeah, I'm not saying he's good. I'm not saying he's qualified. But I'm saying when we have a choice like that, I'd go Trump all day.
Oh, okay, but I'm just saying that dude said drink bleach. What? I mean, Biden may forget his name, but he ain't never told us to drink bleach.
Exactly.
Yeah, but he's gonna read everything they give him on that piece of paper if he forgets his name, right? At least Trump is a dick, but at least you know what I mean. At least he stands his ground. I like him for that.
He's
look. I stand my ground,
really
and I'm not trying to be the fucking president. Let's be real here.
Well, have you grabbed any? You know what?
Not
that's what you have to do.
Not of anybody else's, no.
Yeah. Well, that's what you have to do to become president around here.
Right.
No, it's crazy.
Look, we're not going to get super political for Jason and Kirill and you. But I'm just saying, like, this started with Kanye. So if we can get back to that, like, make your statement, because we've talked on the show in the last week about people using their platform to say what they think. So please do that. But, like, the thing that spawned that thought, go back to Kanye, because please kill yourself.
Oh, Kanye is. I mean, I think it's the Kardashian curse. I know they are. Again, not to be racist. I don't think the Kardashians are good for black people.
I don't think they're good for any people, dude.
I'm just saying. Everyone they date, their life goes to crap right after that.
I can't. Wait, why do you even know this? Are you like a Kardashian follower?
No, I mean, they did have the NBA. It's not hard to follow. It's on Instagram.
Look,
they made an Olympic champion cut his balls off, man. Like, that's, you know what I mean? They take you places.
I mean, for the right amount of money, but
I still know. I think I got out of that one.
All right, so we went a little off the rails, and I only mentioned Kanye because we've been friends on Facebook for, at this point, many years, and I have seen your Kanye posts. But to go back to something slightly more serious, but not that serious, Mark Cuban, go.
Mark is like the coolest billionaire I've ever met. Like, I've met a whole lot of them, but no, Mark is super cool. The HD Nets fights, when he was throwing those fights, he wanted MMA people to feel how NBA players are treated, how he treats the NHL team. Like, he picked up the main card people in limousines. We all the fighters in their camps got to hang out in the box for the Stars game and the Mavericks game, and then the co-main and main event got to go to Texas Stadium and see the Dallas Cowboys play. And he was just real cool, real down to earth, and like I said, I met him, and he acted like we were friends for years, and like we knew each other. And at the end of the conversation, I'm like, it was great meeting you, Mr. Cuban. He's like, you can call me Mark. And I'm thinking, not unless our bank account start the match. No, not doing that. But he was just a down-to-earth guy. And then you see him in other interviews, and I've seen him in a few other settings, and he's just a real cool guy. We've seen how other billionaires act. One of them is our president.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I don't know about all that, but okay.
Well, he is a president, or maybe not ours, but
No, he is a president. I just don't think he is a billionaire. But go on.
You know what? You might be right. I've always suspected that he's not as rich as he say he is, and that's why he won't release his taxes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why all that comes about, that he will not release his stuff, because he doesn't want anybody to know that he really has like $1,000.
Well, see, I want everybody to know if what happens when you put somebody on an airplane with no identification. Since it's story time with Ron Frazier and all. Did we lose him?
Yeah, it says 2 or 3 of them. Call him back.
What the fuck?
Call him back for that story, and then we'll wrap.
Yeah. What the hell?
Oh, you would be editing tonight.
Oh, I know.
We got disconnected. I don't know how that happened. Maybe Trump's listening.
It was Trump.
So what I was saying is, it's story time with Ron Frazier, and you were saying Trump won't release his taxes. We gotta get you to release some information. So it's story time. How does a person end up on a plane with no identification?
All right. This is how people end up on a plane with no identification. First off, I don't drink. I've never been drunk a day in my life. I don't do drugs.
Good for you.
People who do drink and do drugs can get on my nerves if they're like belligerent when they get drunk. And I had a friend of mine who would just constantly be a dick when he got drunk. And I was like, dude, you need to calm down. Well, he didn't necessarily calm down. Well, I like, all right. I was dating a flight attendant. She was a ramp agent at the time. And because normally they don't let drunk people on planes. But she was working that night, and I was like, yo.
Yeah, let the drunk employee on the plane. That's cool.
Yeah. I was like, no, I called her, and I was like, are you at work? She's like, yeah, I'm at work. I was like, cool. I want to bring this dude. I want to send him to Phoenix. Actually, I wanted to send him to New York, but my other friends wouldn't let me. I was like,
yeah,
all right.
New York is a lot like Phoenix, but.
Yeah, but they wouldn't let me, so I couldn't. So I was like, all right. So I picked the nearest place that I could send him. So I took his ID. I did buy him a round trip ticket though, but
Wait. What year was this exactly?
Huh?
What year was this?
This was 1996.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm 13. You're an old motherfucker. Go on.
I am an old motherfucker, but you love me.
I do, but that does not preclude you from being an old motherfucker.
It happens. I mean, it goes up or you're dead. So you become an old motherfucker. But anyway.
Well, I also will be an old motherfucker. That was just a comment I didn't need to make one.
Anyway, so I got him on the plane, and I bought a ticket with his credit card, because you can do that when you're dating the ramp agent.
Yes.
Yeah, who's gonna do the ticket? So I bought him a round trip ticket, but I took all of his ID, and so then he came to in Phoenix, and he had to deplane, and he was like freaking out because he had no ID on him, no money. He did realize, I guess, that he had a round trip ticket. So yeah, he tried to, back then everybody didn't have cell phones, so he had to find a payphone and try to call us collect.
I
And
fucking
he's like-
love that
It's
story.
like being in
He's
jail.
like, he's like, you're an asshole. And they're like, you're a drunk. We're even.
I mean, fair. All right, so look, we would literally talk to you all night, and tomorrow, the next day, the next month, the next week, the next year after this, and so you'll have to come on.
I will come on anytime. You just let me know.
Yeah, I think the stories are probably endless with you.
Oh yeah, I guess I could I could talk all day. I was telling the kid I was training today because he was filming some things and he's trying to start his own little podcast and he's getting a little nervous when they were filming him, and I kind of did one take with him, and he was like, "Man, how'd you do that?" And I was like, "Dude, I used to talk to myself. I used to interview myself when I was a kid. I would hit the game-winning shot, then I did the fucking interview right after. That's why I can do these things. I mean, I also did sports radio for 9 years, but that's a whole nother story.
We got to have a conversation about Dean Thomas at some point. But the point is that send that dude to us. Like, look, this particular show is young, and so that's cool. But 66% of us have podcasted for the better part of a decade, mostly about MMA. So send that dude to us. Like, we'll bring him on. We'll talk to him, or at least chat with him. Like, I would love to talk to that guy, honestly. But beyond that, here's my question, my random question before we wrap, because we're going to let you go. Do you happen to be a battle rap fan?
Yes.
For real?
Wow.
Jason, stop. Wait, have you been watching the KOTD Grand Prix?
I have not had time to watch it. So I will go back and check out some episodes. But yeah, I love battle rap. I remember when, like.
Well, no, I asked because we had a battle rapper on to report a few hours ago. So Severe.
Yeah.
And he is the biggest MMA fan. He's also a judoka. He also has apparently trained in like 37,000 different practices.
Yeah.
And we ran out of time and I muted myself, but I was about to be like, because I asked him about trainers and he went deep. Like, of course he was like Firas Zahabi and all this shit, but like he was just like naming person after person. And I was like, let him name Ron, because I'm gonna hit that motherfucker up and have him call in and surprise this guy. Like, he was the biggest fan. And it was so interesting because there really has been, when we talked to all these battle rappers, so much overlap with MMA that, like, I would love to strike up some kind of, joint show at some point.
Oh, definitely. That would be fun. I mean, battle rappers are out of their mind insane. And so are MMA people. So it kind of works. And I've always loved rap from its beginning, its origin, and that's kind of how it started in the clubs in New York, kind of, battling. And all over LA, I remember, some guy by the name of Ice-T making rhymes. Real gangster rhymes, because he was.
We're like not even with electricity, so.
Yeah. I was rapping with Abe Lincoln, like right before he freed us.
Oh shit!
I love you.
Oh, shit. Oh my. Okay, so on that note, I think we can wrap. Definitely want to have you back to talk more stories. I
appreciate your time, man. No, thanks for coming through.
Yeah, once this is up there, who knows? You might get a call from Randy or Bob Sapp or Don King or fucking Phil Baroni. Yeah, who knows?
We can have an entire other show about Bob Sapp and Don King.
Well, I mean, I didn't say anything bad about Phil or Randy, so they won't punch me. Bob doesn't like taking a punch. I can deliver one, so I'm not worried about him. And Don is like 5 million years old.
Yeah.
But the thing is this about Don. Don is one of those dudes, like, Don, if the world ended, if there was a nuclear explosion, cockroaches and Don King would be left. But I will give you this. I will give you this. No, everybody gets on Don about he was a crook. Most people felt Bob Arum. A lot of boxers felt Bob Arum was a bigger one. lease with Don, if he promised you $3 million, you were going to get 2 because he was going to keep 1. You knew that right off the bat. And,
Wait,
you know,
if there was a nuclear bomb, though, it's him and Al Sharpton. Come on. He's not going any motherfucking where, for real, ever.
You might be right, because he looked like a crypt keeper right now. Like, he might have died like 20 years ago. His body just don't know it. I'm like, dude, you used to look like a fat pimp. Now you look like you need a fat pimp. Like, dude, what's wrong?
Holy shit. All right, so let's get the hell out of here. Don't forget to follow the show. Don't forget to follow the show at The Building DT. Subscribe and follow on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast from. For Ron Frazier, Amy Barton, Kirill Kasatskiy, I'm Jay Kelly. We out.
Peace out.
Building downtown. Building downtown. Building downtown. Building downtown.